captivating chat. This is a rare one for me because this is my second live stream since yesterday. And then I do another one tomorrow with my dear friend, Dr. Whimsy Anderson. I am her cohort on her show Taco Tuesdays. Basically, I am Ed McMahon to her Johnny Carson. On this one, well, my manager Debbie asked me last week, Chuck, who is your guest going to be? I said, well, you're looking at him. Me, myself, and I. I am my own special guest. That's why it takes so much energy to do this show because I'm playing host and guest star. Yeah, I'll have some more guests in the coming weeks. I'm still finding what I want this show to be and finding my voice and getting used to this. I'm mostly just having fun. Mostly, like today. Today was a very busy day for me. I have all my other responsibilities to tend to, real life stuff outside of YouTube. But somehow, some way, when it's time to go on the air, I go on the air and I'm ready to do it. And I think it just goes back to the days years ago, and I used to do stage. And you ask any stage actor, come 8 o'clock or whatever time it is, the lights and the curtain go up, you damn well better leave your problems and all your junk backstage in the dressing room and focus on where you are and right now in the moment. So I'm just looking here to see, well, so far no comments, but according to this, I am going out live, so I am being seen. People always ask me, they're curious about LA. Hey, Pam, thanks for joining. It's so good to have you here. Again, thank you for your video message. I'm going to respond to you later today. I'm very lucky to have dear friends like that. But I get people ask me about LA, mundane things like the weather. People seem to be fascinated. So it's 62 degrees right now. And, there's been a lot of, I don't know if other people have found this, but a lot of technical issues have been coming up lately. Today, I normally do this show with 3 lights. Today I have 1 light. 2 of my lights stopped working, and I discovered this about 40 minutes before the show. But then as I was sitting here and I was setting everything up, I thought, "Why is it so light anyway? I don't need so many lights." And then I was like, "Duh, daylight savings time. We're on daylight savings time. And so, of course, there's going to be more light than usual right now. So that works to my advantage." So I guess that just shows that the universe steps in its own way. But you want to talk about technology failing. Uh, you may or may not have seen the live stream I did yesterday with my best friend Anastasia Pavlov. We thought it would be fun. We've joked about this for years because we're both big Joan Rivers fans. We feel we channel Joan. She comes through us. We hear her talking. And we thought, well, wouldn't it be fun to, have my big screen TV on in the background, with the Oscar coverage, the red carpet. We'd have a couple of chairs set up, cameras, lights, and we would do our own live stream critiquing the couture on the red carpet and making our little witty, bitchy little comments and everything. And it was supposed to be just so nice and easy and fun. Well, 3 o'clock, I had a meeting with my manager, Debbie. She was, God bless this lady, what she puts up with me. We were going to have a little technical meeting just to make sure everything was working right, sound, light, so forth. I couldn't log on. I couldn't log on to save my life. I could not get on to Restream. And then I couldn't get on to my messenger, which I needed so I could send a link to Debbie so she could be in the studio. In other words, everything possible was going wrong. And we're going on the air live. Anastasia is racing from work to get here in her car. I'm still waiting on her. I've got sweat rolling off of me. I'm freaking out. This is the side of me you don't get to see before the show. I'm freaking out. What is going wrong here? But I can laugh about it now. I wasn't laughing yesterday. And Debbie, she's just so wonderful. I know she does not like me to keep thanking her. She's not the type of woman who needs that. But you know what? she's a saint. She said, "Now, Chuck, take a deep breath. You got this. Don't worry." She was laughing, smiling, putting me at ease. Yes, Debbie. Chuck, you must relax and breathe. Yeah, that's what I need to do. And thank you for reminding me. And I thank you publicly for being there for me in the ways that you have always been there. You're my guardian angel, Debbie. You're one of several guardian angels I have. But it was a lot of fun. And again, it comes back to that, I guess, all that stage training. As crazy as I was and overwhelmed and sweating, I was wiping sweat off me, trying to fix my hair. It was all falling down and stuff. Anastasia was here. Her blood sugar was plummeting because she hadn't had anything to eat all day and had just gotten off work. And then comes 3:30, 3, 2, 1, live. Hi there. Welcome to Chuck's Captivating Chronicles. We just fell into it and we started going. And we had to even change our position because for some reason, now I don't know if Restream has a block on this, but Debbie's singing Earth Angel from Greece, Greece. Well, our plan was to have the big screen TV behind us, with all the red carpet stuff. We thought, oh, isn't that cute, cute, clever, and everything? Well, I check on my monitor, the screen is black, even though the TV was on. So apparently, Restream or whatever has this thing. Maybe it's copyright issues where you cannot have a television screen going in the background. I don't know what it was, or maybe it was just as simple as it not photographing. Anyway, it was black. So we had to switch everything back over to the couch, our usual plan. And we had to kind of angle ourselves this way so we could watch the TV and comment. But of course, you, the audience, could not see what we were looking at, but we were just banking on the fact that a lot of you were probably watching the Oscars anyway. And yeah, some of our little barbed comments did start coming out. That's the problem with doing live. You're going on without a safety net. And Anastasia and I can get quite wicked with our humor in private. We've always been that way. We've always been irreverent with each other, tasteless. Maybe that's why we love Joan Rivers so much. But you do have to realize that's not always appropriate in a venue like this. You've got fans with expectations, subscribers, and who don't care for that sort of thing. So we were trying to be mindful of that. And I've got to watch the replay just to make sure we didn't say anything too bad. But we did proceed to record some segments, just little afterthoughts as we were watching the Oscars. And we thought, well, if we like these, we'll put them on and post them. And there was one I kind of had my doubts about because, as I said, we can get really tasteless and crude. We acknowledge that, but that's us in private. Uh, one year during the in memoriam segment, we I don't know what took over us, but we started making some bad jokes about the people who had passed on, and I know that's not good. That's bad taste, but we made a video doing something similar to it, and I don't know. I don't know if I should post this. She and Anastasia, bless her, she said, "Oh, come on, put it on, put it on." We put it on, and this morning I saw a comment, and I'm not from one of my subscribers. She was deeply offended, and I am so sorry about that. And I worried that was going to happen, and I don't blame a person for being offended. So this was a time I pulled one of the videos. I thought, no, it's better to keep things like that private. So anyway, that's something Anastasia and I did that was very special yesterday. We're hoping to do a lot more shows together. We can't make it a permanent thing, like a set one a week thing because of our work schedule, especially her work schedule, but we're going to certainly make it like a little special extra thing here and there. We love to go on walks together and just have great, great talks. And I had an idea, maybe even getting a selfie stick, holding the phone out while we're walking. That'll be one of our shows. But anyway, that's what happened. And of course, the Oscars, the 96th annual Oscars, are now history. I don't know if you saw the videos I posted these last few days. Um, I live 15 minutes from downtown Hollywood, depending on the traffic. I thought it'd be fun. Go there, shoot some videos, show the Dolby Theater, show Hollywood Boulevard, because a lot of people don't get to see all the chaos and cacophony and concrete barriers and chain link fences and jackhammers and just trucks, people putting up curtains and drapes and the red carpet. It's amazing how they do all that in like 3 or 4 days. And of course, now they gotta roll all the carpet back up and everything. And we're still gonna have street closures until Wednesday, they said on the news. But still, to take it down in 2 days is almost as amazing as how they put it up. It's anything but glamorous, but as I said in one of my videos, that's a perfect facade for Hollywood and the show business industry. Any actor who's worked on a soundstage, TV show, a movie will tell you it is about the most unglamorous thing possible. On a film set, you've got carpenters working, machinery, there's dust and chaos, and of course it all has to come together, and the director calls for action, everything has to get quiet, and you do your moments. But it seems like 90% of what you do on a film set is just sit around and wait while all of this process is going on, and that's kind of what it was like watching that on Hollywood Boulevard. So I hope you found the videos enlightening. I overextended myself because I probably shot and posted nearly 40 videos in the last 4 to 5 days. That's a record for me. And I think I pushed myself too hard because I have been feeling it today. It's like, you push your adrenals to go as far as you can possibly go. And oh, come on, I'm tough enough. I can take this. I can do it. I can do it and do it. It's not just shooting the videos, it's also posting the things, coming up with captions, typing all the descriptions, all that, scheduling. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of maintenance doing one of these YouTube channels, but it's exciting at the same time, and I love it. And I'm just grateful to all of you out there who are following me and commenting and encouraging me. But yeah, I'm feeling it. I You won't see so much, shall we say, prolificness from me this week. I'll be going back to more my usual postings. And of course, I also need to get caught up with my other channel, which is the one that belongs to my cat, Sasha. Sasha's Siamese Secrets. Please like and subscribe. Uh, we got some plans for that. My dear friend, Pam Pomona, remembers she is going to be the voice of Serena Softpaws, Sasha's stand in, because Sasha, surprise, surprise, does not often want to cooperate with me when I try to photograph her. I have said to people jokingly, but also seriously, I can rarely get more than 15 to 17 seconds out of her before she runs off or she starts doing something inappropriate on camera. So we're going to have a stand-in for her, and Pam and I are going to shoot some pieces. And she's a gifted artist, and she's created a wonderful puppet and some computer animated things that we're going to give voice to, and we're still deciding where we're going to take it. But anyway, that's going to be Sasha's Siamese Secrets. That's another project. And of course, this is my number one project, Chuck's Captivating Chronicles, Chuck's Captivating Chat. This is my passion, old Hollywood. I had some of my comments, on the Oscar stuff. Basically, who cares? Who cares about the Oscars? I got a lot of that. And of course, I get that outside of YouTube. People going, oh, I don't watch the Oscars anymore. Passe. I don't care for it. But you can understand, for me, I've been a lifelong lover of the movies, lifelong lover of Hollywood, all of this. So I'm not jaded to the Oscars. I still look forward to them every year, and I love the fact that I live here. I talked about it some last week, especially when I lived in West Hollywood, because that's where a lot of the post-Oscar parties take place. I've told some stories, and some of my videos. I still have a few more videos to post about it. Telling stories about the old days of Spago back in the 80s. Irving Swifty Lazar, who was a big power agent at the time, used to throw the post-Oscar party, and I told stories last week and in my videos, such as because I live 3 blocks down the hill from where this took place, so it's very easy to walk up there after the Oscars. And the first time I did it, I got to see Jodie Foster. The year she won her first Oscar for Best Actress, got to see her come out of the limo with her Oscar in her hand, wearing the gown that I saw her on TV. And that was kind of fun because you got to see the clothes for real. You got to see the Oscars for real. Um, while we were standing on the other side of the road, you still got to vicariously experience them. And I told the story in the video. I always work in Lucy stories here, and there will be another here, but I missed seeing Lucille Ball, my idol, by 30 minutes. That was the year she and Bob Hope appeared on the Oscars, and it turns out it was only, I could be wrong on this. I tried to verify on the internet, but only the second Oscar appearance she ever made. And she came on with Bob Hope, got a massive standing ovation at the age of 77. And even in her rapidly failing health, I say that because she died 3 weeks later, she still looked like Lucy. She looked sensational. Women will say the last thing to go are the legs. And Lucy had spectacular chorus girl legs her whole life. At 77, she had a gown slit up the side to show off her legs. And boy, she was glorious. And she came on the show. They did this segment. I hope I'm not backtracking too much here. I'll get back to Spagos. But they, she and Bob, being the old guard, introduced this segment called the Oscar Winners of Tomorrow. And it was this whole musical number with all of these up and coming actors, the Oscar winners of tomorrow. Well, I remember that when that had aired originally, but I thought just for fun, I looked it up on YouTube and I started writing down the names because I wanted to see, did any of those people go on to anything? I mean, well, first of all, not one of them. Here it is, 35 years later, not one of them has won an Oscar. I don't even know if one of them's even been nominated for an Oscar, but there were people there like Blair Underwood. He's had moderate success as a character actor. Holly Robinson. I forget what sitcom she used to be on. Let's see, Jolie Fisher, Ryan O'Neill's son Patrick, Carrie Hamilton, bless her soul, Carol Burnett's daughter, who passed away from cancer. She was an aspiring star. Tyrone Power Jr., and of course, you don't hear much of him anymore. Ricky Lake ended up going on to be a talk show host. The two Coreys, Corey Feldman, Corey Parker were there. Chad Lowe, Tracy Nelson, but no, for the most part, no superstars there. I mean, Patrick Dempsey, of course, had success on Grey's Anatomy. Met him once, really sweet guy. He used to go to my gym. Hey, live in LA. Celebrities are everywhere. I used to see him in the locker room at my gym. Really, really nice guy. But anyway, so I watched that again. They did not predict the Oscar winners of tomorrow, but Lucy afterwards went on to some of the parties. So get back on track with my story. I walk up the hill after the Oscars, and people are going, "You just missed Lucy. She was just here half an hour ago." I'm like, no, no, no. Silent scream, no. Miss Lucy. And they said that she even entertained everybody. She was there in the street. She was lifting her dress up and doing a little dance and showing off her legs and waving everybody and blowing kisses. And I missed it. I did see Lucy in person once. I watched her film an episode of Life with Lucy, but that would have been special, and especially since it was near the end of her life. But it goes like it goes. Let's see here. My other Spago experiences. Well, no, I think I told that last week. I can't remember. I think or at least I've told it in my videos, so I don't need to recount everything. Trust me, I have videos to go along with all of this. But let's see what actually, I'm gonna jump ahead here and go back to that because I've got something on my iPad I have queued up that I don't want to lose. Yes, I'm very technical here. I hold up an iPad to show you things, but I'll tell this story. I should have been a little better organized here. I'm going to have to go back to Spago to tell this story. It's live. This is the fun of the moment here, the spontaneity, right? Um, you may have seen Kelly and Mark this morning, where they did their show from the Dolby Theater, where the Oscar set was still up and the audience was there and so forth. Well, I did that last year. Last year. And what was interesting, I had not missed an Oscar show since I was about 11 or 12 years old. This was a year I had to miss the Oscars, but ironically, I had never been closer to the Oscars at the same time. A dear friend of mine was in town and she wanted to treat me to dinner and shows at the Magic Castle on Franklin Avenue, which is just about a block from the Dolby Theater where the Oscars take place. Well, I didn't want to offend my friend. I couldn't say, "Well, I don't want to go because the Oscars are on." I couldn't say that when she was being so generous and kind. So I went to the Magic Castle instead of going to the Oscars. And I had to actually look at my phone to see who had won the awards. But like I said, I was a block away from where it was happening. Now, here's the other part of our big plan. And this was an all-night venture. Uh, we were at the Magic Castle until about 11:30, 12 at night. And then we went to we went back to her hotel room for a while, and then we left because we were going to at the time, it was Kelly and Ryan Seacrest, but we were going to go to the show they were gonna do, their morning show, be in the audience in the Dolby Theater with the Oscar set still up and everything. So that's the irony. I missed the Oscars, but yet I'm gonna be in the theater soon and be there at the Oscar set and everything. Uh, this was this entailed having to get an Uber, drive to the parking lot of the Hollywood Bowl, where we had to get into a very long line, and they had all of these buses set up, and we had to wait. Oh god, I'm trying to remember how long we had to wait. I just know we were exhausted. We had been up all night. And this was like 2:33 in the morning, and we're waiting to board a bus so we can travel 3 or 4 blocks back to the Dolby Theater where they let us off, and then we had to get into another line that snaked all the way around the block. And by now, it was like 4 AM, and I'm trying to remember now, I think they finally started letting the line move inside the theater about 5 AM. And then they kept us waiting there and yet another line until finally, I guess it was maybe 5:40 or something like that, we were taken into the theater. And my first thought when I saw the theater was how small it is. I mean, it's a small theater. It's just when you watch the Oscar awards, they use these, they're called fisheye lenses. They're up above and they shoot from angles and wide angles, and they create the illusion that this theater is enormous when it isn't. It's surprisingly compact. And I know it was designed specifically with television in mind. This was built from the ground up to have the right acoustics, to be equipped for cameras, sound, everything for the annual Oscar show. So that was a big surprise to me. And that's why I wanted to jump to the story because I have, let's see, on my iPad here, if I can get this to start. Yeah, that's so. And this is the challenge doing this without light shining in it. But as you can see, that's Kelly and Ryan on the tiny little podium there that looks so much larger on television at the Oscars. Folks, it ain't so grand at 6 in the morning when you're there trying to hold your eyes open. You're so tired, and I know everybody else there was tired too. It was 6 in the morning, and I was under the impression that they were going to be interviewing the Oscar winners. Everything was pre-taped. Yes, it was live on stage and all, but I think they had someone like they had Carson Kressley from Queer Eye for the Straight Guy and somebody else, somebody very, shall we say, C or B list. There were no big Oscar winners on that stage except for what we watched on the monitors, things they had done the night before. And then I turned to my friend and I said, "Well, if I had just won an Oscar, I don't think I'd wanna get up at 6 in the morning to do some cockamamie talk show." So, that was my little memory of that, and that's something I can share with you. But I'm gonna get back to, the post-Oscar parties, Spago. Oh boy, I'm doing this seamlessly, aren't I? But, I told about how I miss Lucy, I saw Jodie Foster. Um, in latter years, they moved it to, Morton's, which no longer exists, but it was another in spot in quote unquote Hollywood, when in actuality it was, West Hollywood. But it was okay, the 2004, that was the year Charlize Theron won her Best Actress Oscar for an incredible performance in a film called Monster, and they made the stars. It didn't matter who you were. It didn't matter you had an Oscar in your hand. You had to wait in line and go through a metal detector, like they have at airports and things. Yeah, probably made them take their keys and stuff out of their pockets and everything, but they had to wait in line to go in. So I'm standing there and I am like 12 inches away from Charlize Theron with her Best Actress Oscar. And I just said, "I thought you were incredible. And congratulations. I'm so excited for you." And she turned, just walked away like she didn't hear me. Now, I can't fault Charlize. I mean, come on. If I were in her position, I don't know if I would have acknowledged me either. I'm sure she had enough on her mind. I can even give her the benefit of the doubt that she didn't hear me. I know she did. But anyway, that was my little snub from Charlize. Yeah, that's right. Debbie was just mentioning she gained, I think, like 30, 40 pounds for that role. It was quite a transformation. I mean, it was a physical transformation, but it was also an inner transformation as well. If you see this beautiful lady, you watch that movie, she's unrecognizable. She deserved that Oscar, and I'm still glad I told her. Congratulations. But anyway, I bring that up because the next year was the antithesis of that. Same thing, stars waiting in line. There were big A-listers there like Tom Hanks and Steven Spielberg and Helen Mirren, Peter O'Toole, and I was just watching them all go in, and yeah, they weren't acknowledging us other than maybe a little wave or something, little Queen's wave or something to us. Yes, from Helen Mirren, that's about as far as it got. That was the year Hilary Swank won her second Oscar for Million Dollar Baby. Hilary Swank was incredible to us. She saw all of us on the other side of the road. Oscar in hand, came running over to us to acknowledge us. She passed the Oscar around so we could hold it. And she was like all excited and jumping up and down. "Hi, Joyce. Thank you for joining." But anyway, she's a tiny little thing. I haven't looked up her height, but I think she couldn't be more than like 5 feet, 5'1", just this little petite woman. And she was just jumping down. She was smiling and she was shaking hands and stuff and posing for pictures. And I got to hold her Oscar and pose for a picture with her. Hence a story. This was the era before, our smartphones, our smartphone cameras. I mean, there were cell phones with cameras, of course, but anyway, I had one of those early digital cameras, if you remember those, which came about, I guess, yeah, they're still making them, of course, but those were the thing after we were using cameras with film. And I handed the camera to someone and said, "Would you please take our picture?" He hit the wrong button, hit the zoom, and hence I have a picture of Hilary Swank's forehead. Can you see that? That's all I have. Now, trust me, folks, I was there with her holding her Oscar. But this is all I have. This is the only documentation of that great moment. And I actually used this as my Christmas card that year. Chuck's dubious achievement for 2005, the time I had my picture taken with Hilary Swank and her Oscar, and I got a picture of her forehead. Do not trust people with new digital cameras. So I just had to show that, and I'm going to put up a video on it. I can't remember if I have or not. I have put up so many videos. I've got to look at my notebook. I've actually lost track for the first time, but I did so many. I know I shot one on that. But anyway, that's my cute little story about Hilary Swank and the Oscar. Now, I've held Oscars on, I think it's five, maybe six different times. I did it as recently as last year when my friend and I went to Paramount Studios. She wanted to do the tour, and a cute little part of it is they have an Oscar that you can hold and take pictures with. So I've held them before. I'm no stranger to them. They're heavy, surprisingly heavy. I looked it up online. They only weigh like 8.5 pounds, but I swear they feel like 20-pound barbells. I think it's the way the weight is distributed. It's like, yeah, be careful you don't drop that thing on your foot. You'll break a toe. Um, but anyway, Hilary Swank was that wasn't my first time at the rodeo holding a Best Actress Oscar. I have held another Best Actress Oscar, and I went right to the top on this one. Now, hopefully you can see this for all the glare. This is Betty Davis in 1939 holding up her 1938 Best Actress Oscar for Jezebel. I have held that, I mean, that very Oscar in my hands. And the way that happened was at a Christie's auction in Beverly Hills many years ago. They had Marilyn Monroe's iconic happy birthday gown, the one that was the flesh colored with all the sequins she had to be sewn into. And that's a story all to itself. I have to tell in another video, but she had to be sewn into the dress. They had it on display, and that's why I went. But on a little table in a corner with a security guard sitting there was an Oscar. And it was one of the vintage Oscars, with the lower base on it. And I went up to it and I saw it was Betty Davis's for Jezebel. And I said to the security guard very timidly, I said, "Can I touch it? Can I just touch it?" And he said, "Oh, hell, pick it up. Nobody's looking, just pick it up." So there I am. I'm holding Betty Davis's Oscar. Wow. Wow. It's just like, you think, I don't know if you guys ever make lists of things you've done in your life, kind of like bucket list things. Not that I was playing that on my bucket list, but just dubious achievements we've made in our lifetimes. And I thought, I can say to my dying day, I've held Betty Davis's Oscar. So that's my story. My cat is here knocking things over out of camera range. Sasha just, how did she reek? What was that, Joyce? The one, oh, yes, Pam said the dress that Kim Kardashian wrecked. Yes, that is a whole story. In fact, I'm going to do a planned video on that because, well, I wasn't going to talk about it here, but I'll mention it. That dress had never been worn by another soul other than Marilyn Monroe herself because it was made for her. Jean-Louis, the great costume designer, made that dress exclusively for Marilyn. In fact, Marilyn Monroe, when she went to him, said, these were her words. She said, "I want a dress that only Marilyn Monroe could wear." So that's what Jean-Louis set out to do, to make a dress that only one woman in the world could wear, and it was Marilyn Monroe. Well, flash forward about 60 some years later, a woman named Kim Kardashian became the second woman to wear that dress, and there was huge controversy about it. It was at the Wasn't planning on telling this story, but, at the Met Gala they do every May in New York, and, it's a big deal to show up in grandiose costumes. Everybody's always trying to top each other. So let me make sure my cat's not gonna knock a light over here. Um, I guess Kim Kardashian, through her connections, I mean, it's not my place to say, but I'm imagining some money ch changed hands, or maybe she said she'd make a big donation or something. I don't know what the circumstances were, how she got that dress. I should go up and look that up. I'm gonna research it more, but nonetheless, Kim Kardashian Sasha, here, she's might as well just let her be on camera. This is what she wants to do. Okay, so Sasha, I'm gonna put you down, and, lost my train of thought there. Yeah, what was it? I was saying about the dress and, no, what's she doing? Okay, it's live, folks. She got to wear the dress at the Met Gala because everybody's looking to top each other. And she figured, well, nobody is going to top this. And she was probably right. But I think it blew up in her face because there was enormous controversy about it. People just saying that, "Oh, this is so disrespectful to Marilyn, and that dress is sacred. It's a piece of history," which it is. It is a piece of history. It's the dress she wore and she sang to John Kennedy, and it's iconic. It may be one of the most famous dresses on the planet Earth, other than maybe Marilyn's other dress, the white dress she wore in the 7 Year Itch, where she stood over the subway grating and the dress billowed up. But it was iconic, and so people thought it was disrespectful. And also, the dress, by its very nature, was fragile. It was fragile. Oh, thank you, Joyce. Thank you for saying that. Um, the dress, even in 1962, was extremely fragile. Extremely. Uh, Jean Louis, he took um, this fabric. I forget what you call it. Very, very sheer. I like a chiffon or something. I could be wrong on that. Forgive me for not having the right terminology for it, but a very, very sheer fabric. Very rare. Very rare. I think only one bolt of this fabric existed in the world, and it had to be special delivered from France. And this was one of the reasons the dress cost so much money. I think in 1962, I got to verify this. I wasn't planning to tell this story, but I think in 1962 it cost $12,000. Then he ordered this bolt of fabric to be brought over. He just ordered the whole bolt because he didn't know what he was going to need for the dress. But he wanted this dress to be so extraordinary and one of a kind. And Marilyn had several fittings. And Marilyn, I understand, had to be fitted nude because it had to cling perfectly to her body. But that's what Marilyn wanted. She wanted this dress to shock. She wanted to be provocative. She wanted it to be flesh colored. So out in the audience, it was actually going to look like she was nude, create that illusion of nudity. So the very sheer dress had to be fashioned on her body. And like I said, she had to be sewn into it later when she wore it. That's how tight this dress was. And then it came time to do, if you've seen the dress, all crystals, those little crystals had to be sewn on by hand, one by one. There, and I remember this, there was something like 6,000 of those crystals. Each one had to be sewn by hand. This dress took a long time to make. That's another reason it was so expensive. You had all these laborers working on it and craftspeople. Couture is a lot like sculpture. And anyway, that's the story behind the dress. So anyway, it was very fragile to begin with. It was only meant to be worn one time. And I think I told the story of another dress Marilyn had to be sewn into, and the designer told Marilyn, "Whatever you do, don't sit in this dress, do not dance in this dress, do not move around too much because it will literally disintegrate on you." Literally disintegrate. That's how fragile it is. Well, this dress was fragile too. So Marilyn had to be very careful to just basically stand while wearing it. And I understand, after the event was over, there was going to be a reception for her and the Kennedy brothers and some others. And her personal maid had to cut her out of it, cut the stitches so Marilyn could go to the bathroom. And because you can't go to the bathroom in a dress like, it's not to be crude, but that's the facts. So she had to be cut out of the dress and then she had to be sewn back into it again. But that was the intention, was going to be the only time she wore it. And yes, and someone who was there pointed out they had different proportions. Let me see, let me look at the comments here. Yeah, about how Kim Kardashian wrecked the dress, because as we know, Kim Kardashian, with her famous derriere and so forth. I'm trying to be correct here. I already got in trouble for one video. I don't want to get in trouble for another. I'm not denigrating her too much. Not, at least I'm not body shaming her. I actually met her once, and I saw that she had surgically enhanced. I mean, no human being on earth has a rear end like that. Anyway, her proportions are very different, and obviously that dress did not fit her properly. And keep in mind, this is fragile fabric that's now 60 years old. And she claimed that no harm was done to the dress. Well, I'll show this when I make these videos. I'll have to now do this sooner than I thought. There are pictures of before and after. And yes, she did wreck the dress. You can see where the fabric is pulling apart and tearing. And you can also see before and after where some of the crystals dropped off the dress. Yeah. No. So anyway, that's the story behind that. So I hope I didn't go too far off on a tangent there, but that came up in the comments here. And I guess that's the beauty of doing a live show. I may have to just skip a lot of other stuff here. I was going to tell a Lucy story, but well, okay, I'll keep talking for a little bit here, because a lot of this has to do with the Oscars. It's just like my videos. One of the reasons I had to put so many videos up is because they had their shelf life was going to expire, because they were all about preparing for the Oscars and so forth. People generally don't care so much afterwards, but I'm going to be spilling over with more Oscar videos. But I wanted to get those up first. But I was going to say, where I used to work in West Hollywood, when I was in the health and nutrition industry, we had, yes, Joyce, I'm going to keep going. We had a well-known dry cleaners. Basically, it was dry cleaner to the stars. You wouldn't believe the major celebrities who went to these dry cleaners. And because we had big windows, I got to see them. So it was always fun the day or two before the Oscars, especially the Saturday before the Oscars. Pardon me, my nose itched there. All these women with their Oscar gowns, all in plastic, coming out. I got to see a preview of what everybody was going to be wearing on the Oscars. And Angela Bassett, the great Angela Bassett, was one of my customers. And we were talking about it because I asked her if she was going to the Oscars that year. And she said, "Oh, no, I'm not this year, not this year." And it's actually, I'm relieved, that stock answer we all give, "Oh, I'm going to be home on my couch in my pajamas," that was more or less her stance. But she's done enough of those award shows. In fact, she was awarded an honorary Oscar just a few months ago. Oh my God, she looked gorgeous. It's on YouTube. Look at her. But she was telling me the ordeal women have to go through for that day. She said to make it look effortless and glamorous on the red carpet is actually a major, major production all to itself. She said a woman usually has to start getting ready about 10 o'clock in the morning. That's you. She was telling her own account. She said that's when the hairdresser comes to the house and the makeup artist comes to the house and the stylist comes to the house. And so you have to do the hair, the makeup, the body makeup. Yes, a lot of women have to do body makeup, and like arms, legs, things like that. That's just natural because you've got to look camera ready, perfect on the red carpet. And she said those dresses, of course, they're so carefully fitted for you. And she mentioned that sometimes women do have to be sewn in the dresses. That still goes on a lot, to create that perfect thing. And she said you have to be very careful with your undergarments so nothing shows through. Now, this is the big kicker. She said, because of those gowns, you can't pee. This is quoting Angela Bassett. She said you can't pee in those dresses, so you can't have any liquids. You have to cut all liquids out after about 11 a.m. and basically dehydrate yourself. And she said that's what almost all those women have to do, is dehydrate themselves. And then you can't have your stomach sticking out. You can't get bloated or anything, as we as human beings do after we eat. She said, "You not when you're wearing an Oscar gown. So you can't eat anything." So she said, "You can't eat, you can't drink." So here, by the time you get to the Oscars, your blood sugar is so low, you're so dehydrated, you're so hungry, and usually you're a bundle of nerves. And then you've got to get out there on that red carpet and strut your stuff and stand a certain way with your hands on your hips and pose just right, and then be interviewed for the cameras. And she said the audience, sometimes the reason the audience is not responding to the jokes and things is because you've got a bunch of people out there who are, they're dehydrated, they're hungry, their blood sugar's low, they're nervous, a lot of them need to pee. So remember that the next time you watch the Oscars. That is the inside scoop from Chuck here. So that's a little story. So anyway, okay, running over here, that Marilyn Monroe story, throw it over Kim Kardashian, but that's okay. That's the beauty of this. No set limits. I was just going to, I'm going to shorten the story quite a bit. I was going to work in something about Lucy. Well, I was just thinking about the irony of Oppenheimer, the movie about Robert Oppenheimer, who's said to be the father of the atomic bomb, and arguably one of the darkest things ever created, this weapon of mass destruction, responsible for what happened in Japan. It ended World War II, the nuclear arms race, the Cold War. We can go on and on. One of the darkest things to ever befall the world. And I know that Robert Oppenheimer even expressed his dismay for this. But believe it or not, I'm tying this in with a Lucy story, because there's another Oppenheimer. And I thought, now this is ironic. You've got one Oppenheimer who created something of mass destruction that could possibly one day annihilate the planet Earth, God forbid. And then you've got a man named Jess Oppenheimer, who was the producer, creator, and head writer of I Love Lucy. See how I'm tying this in? I Love Lucy has played to 78 countries, over 3 billion people across the planet for over 7 decades. And arguably, I Love Lucy has brought light and love and joy to the world. And both these men, this was around the 1940s or so, both of them were at play around the same time. You've had these two Oppenheimers. And I thought it'd be just a great way. I was going to talk quickly about Jess Oppenheimer. Oh boy, we're running over late here. But it started out, he was the head writer and producer of Fanny Brice's radio show. And you probably know Fanny Brice from Barbara Streisand and the movie Funny Girl. Fanny Brice had a hit radio show in the 40s called The Baby Snooks Show. Woman almost 60 years old, but on the radio, she played this mischievous little girl who was always annoying her daddy, and so that, and he wrote a lot of that material. And of course, he later work that into I Love Lucy, but I'll get to that. But he was chosen for that position on Fanny Brice's show because Fanny was known to be an extremely difficult, extremely temperamental, extremely demanding woman. So they needed someone who could stand up to her. And he could. It was hard, but he did. Well, come around to 1948. Lucille Ball was approached by CBS to do a radio show called My Favorite Husband. This was the tail end of radio, that era before it transitioned into television. My Favorite Husband is what became I Love Lucy, with a lot of tweakings. Obviously, in the radio show, she was not married to a Cuban band leader and so forth, but there were a lot of similarities. In fact, the whole first year of I Love Lucy, a lot of those scripts were recycled scripts from My Favorite Husband. They were already written, they just had to be tweaked. That's probably why they were able to do 35 shows that first season. Otherwise, I don't know how they could have created so many brilliant episodes. But anyway, Lucy, God bless Lucy, you know how I love her, but Lucy was a tough lady, and she knew what she wanted, and she was demanding, and she was a perfectionist, and she didn't take BS. In other words, she had a reputation for being a tough, demanding, highly difficult, highly temperamental woman like Fanny Brice. So Jess was approached to perform the same duties for Lucille Ball. We got to have somebody who can stand up to her. She's going to give you hell. Get ready for it. And sure enough, she did, because Lucy liked to test people. She liked to test her directors. She liked to test her writers. She wanted to see what they were made of, if they could stand up to her, because she did not like people who kissed her ass. She didn't like phoniness. She wanted people to be tough with her, actually, but she tested people. So she stormed into his office one day, took the script, throw it down, said, "I'm not doing this shit. Yeah, no, I'm not doing this." And she was just horrible, and she was screaming at him, and, "I think you should be fired from the show," and stuff. And then she proceeded to do that to the two other writers, um, Madeline Pugh and Bob Carroll Jr., who, of course, also wrote for I Love Lucy. And Madeline was in tears, and Jess was livid, and he stormed into Lucy's uh, office, dressing room, whatever it was, and gave her the riot act. "How dare you? Don't you ever talk to my writers like that again. Don't you ever." And Lucy started crying. And she said, "I'm sorry. I was horrible. I know it was horrible. It's horrible." And then Lucy went out of her way. She went and bought gifts for Bob and Madeline, flowers, and she autographed a picture. And she wrote, "I'm sorry, I was a shit. Love, Lucy." And Jess said from that point on, they got along fine. But he said he learned how to deal with her. And this was the other thing he learned about Lucy that was interesting, a little bit of psychology. He wrote the script where the husband was reading the riot act to Lucy, just blessing her out. And Lucy came to Jess after the table read and said, "I love it. Write me more scenes like that. I love it. Let him give it to me. Let me have it. Let me have it." And Jess realized Lucy was hungering for someone to take charge and discipline her. I've talked about this before with her grandmother. Lucy equated discipline with being loved. That went back to her childhood. She loved it when people were tough on her, would come down on her. And if you watch I Love Lucy, there's scenes where Ricky really gives it to her. There's some that are controversial today where Ricky takes her over his knee and spanks her. I know that's not looked upon so fondly now, but Lucy actually requested scenes like that. So that was the relationship of Jess Oppenheimer and Lucille Ball, the other Oppenheimer. And it's also interesting to note that Jess Oppenheimer was the inventor of the teleprompter, where you look into the lens of the camera and you can see the script you're going to read, and you can give the illusion you're making eye contact when you're actually reading. And I do these shows off the cuff, but there was one time I did need to do something scripted. Debbie could tell you about this. I didn't do it so well because I kept looking down the script and looking up, looking down. A teleprompter would have definitely have helped me. Jess's invention. And I was going to say one more thing. Jess completely created the Lucy character. He actually registered this with the Writers Guild for $1. And he said that $1 was the best investment he ever made in his life because it made him a millionaire. But it was a simple one-page treatment where he described this is about a housewife married to a band leader, and she has yearnings to be in show business. Yeah, the Lucy character. That's what he wrote up in words. And because he registered that with the Writers Guild, he owned that. Yes, Debbie, I know I'm almost at an hour. I'm wrapping this up. But anyway, he registered it with the Writers Guild. But he had full legal rights to the Lucy character. Well, as we all know, after I Love Lucy ended, Lucy continued to play the Lucy character on The Lucy Show, and then later, Here's Lucy. And Jess wanted to sue. But at the same time, he had great loyalty to Lucille Ball, for what she had done for him. And he didn't want to hurt Lucy while she was still in the air. What he did, flash forward to 1974, Lucille Ball announced that she was wrapping up Here's Lucy and retiring from television. the next d yes, Sign Up FM, they have the app for it now, yeah, but anyway, but he invented the old-fashioned teleprompter. But anyway, the next day, Jess had been waiting all these years. The day after Lucy made her announcement, he sued, had papers delivered, and, Lucy was livid, and from what I've heard, never forgave him for that. It didn't go to court. They settled out of court. Nobody to this day, oh, maybe somebody in the world knows what the settlement was, but anyway, Lucy had to settle with him, but they kept it all quiet, hush hush. But it definitely damaged things between her and Jess, and I don't know how Jess felt about that. I'm acquainted with his son Greg. I should ask him sometime. Maybe I'll find out the answer for that. But anyway, I went on a lot longer than I wanted to today, but hey, I had fun. I hope you guys had fun. I haven't let me see here. Looking to see if I had missed any comments here before I sign off. I think we covered things, covered more than I thought I was going to, went in some other directions, but hey, got an hour-long show today. So anyway, uh join me next Monday, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern for Chuck's captivating chats. And please like and subscribe my channel, Chuck's Captivating Chronicles, and of course, Sasha's Siamese Secrets. Please like and subscribe. Thank you all so much for joining me today. This has been fun.